have also in the newsroom, but socially distanced from me and in a split screen, Julie Evenson, who is our our engagement editor at the Oregonian.
Yes. Yes.
So polls in Oregon closed a little over an hour ago. Earlier, we announced some of the races and decisions that the Oregonian politics team has already called. But we're just going to kind of give you a recap of what we've got so far. And Julie, what do we know?
Yes. So this will be a recap of some of the races that we discussed before. There have been a couple, I think, that have been called since then, but not too many. In Multnomah County, Adrian Brown has won the judge race. Portland voters passed the Parks levy. Ellen Rosenblum has won re-election as Oregon Attorney General. Peter DeFazio defeated Alex Skarlatos to win re-election in Oregon's 4th Congressional District. That race got a lot of national attention. Former Republican State Senator Cliff Bentz has won the race to fill Greg Walden's old congressional seat. Bentz is also a Republican. And voters have approved Portland Public Schools' $1.2 billion schools bond.
I'm looking at a few other races, again, here in Oregon. As probably a surprise to no one, Oregon has chosen Joe Biden for president. The state voters have also voted to legalize psychedelic mushrooms. We also passed Measure 110, that is to decriminalize small amounts of heroin and other street drugs. In Multnomah County, a library expansion measure has passed. Shemia Fagan has been elected Oregon Secretary of State. Tobias Reed has won re-election as Oregon State Treasurer. Portland voters have passed Measure 26217, which will create a new civilian oversight board for the police department. Statewide, Oregon voters have passed a new tobacco and vape tax. And back to Portland City Council, Mingus Maps has defeated incumbent Chloe Udaly for a spot on the city council. But there's some other Portland City news that we're not ready to call yet. Is that right?
That is correct. So there are a couple of races that are still, too close to call, but we've made some updates. Ted Wheeler has a slight lead over Sarah Iannarone in the Portland mayor's race. There is a pretty large percentage of write-in votes in that race too, so that's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on as we get later into the night. And then in the Metro Council races, Mary Nolan appears headed for victory, but our results team has not officially called that yet. And in that other Metro Council race, Garrett Rosenthal is in the lead. And those are the updates we have for now.
We are continuing to update news and races on OregonLive.com. If you go to the website, you'll see a link at the top of OregonLive.com that will show you basically live Oregon election results. Right. It's a nice handy little graphic. You can just scroll through it really quickly and see all the measures. And if we've called it, you'll see a little check mark next to it. As I'm kind of scrolling through this, there are a lot of races and measures that we have yet to call. I do see Riverdale School District's option tax has passed. In case anybody was waiting on that one. It looks like we've called Senate District 2 for Art Robinson, the Republican, and Oregon Senate District 9 for Fred Girod, also a Republican. There are also some closer races in Washington County that we have not yet called. In the race for Beaverton Mayor, Lacey Beatty is leading over Republican incumbent Denny Doyle. Forgive me, it's not a partisan race, but we haven't called that one yet. And it looks like for Washington County Commission, the District 1 seat, Nafisa Fai is leading We haven't called that race yet, though. And of course, there's a million different things going on in the newsroom here, so we're watching as all this stuff comes across to us. We are calling races on OregonLive.com, but you can also follow us on Twitter at Oregonian on Twitter, and you'll see a list of the races that we have called so far.
Sam, so in the comments, I see a couple people who either joined us late or maybe I was not clear. Peter DeFazio did win. He defeated Alex Scarlatos. So you can get more information on the vote margins and how that played out if you go to Oregon Live. It's one of the stories that we have at the top of the homepage.
Yeah, and actually, in the last 2 minutes, we've called a whole bunch of races.
Yes.
So we've called Oregon House District 60 for Mark Owens, Republican. Oregon House District 58 for Bobby Levy, Republican. Oregon House District 57 for Greg Smith, Republican. Oregon House District 56 for a fella whose last name is Reski. He's also a Republican.
We'll confirm that pronunciation.
Yeah, let's do that later. Oregon House District 51, we've called that for Janelle Bynum, Democrat. And I skipped one, Oregon House District 55. We're calling that one for Vicki Brees Iverson. She's a Republican. Who else won something? Tina Kotek, Democrat, House District 44. And Karin Power, Democrat, House District 41.
And I think we talked about this earlier. None of these were a surprise, but it is worth repeating if people are just joining us now. Suzanne Bonamici, Earl Blumenauer, and Kurt Schrader. We have called the race for the three of them to win re-election.
It's about 9:20. We are expecting potentially another release of ballots to come at around 9:30. So we might be able to call a few more races or have a better picture of some more races then. I think we are going to be able to pull on. No, we're not ready yet. We might take a very short break and then come back with some more results, which I think we'll have, sometime after 9:30. In the meantime, we would like you to enjoy just a little bit of zen and calm and cute animals.
Actually, before we go to the cute animals, I see a specific question in the comments, and then we can toss to the, is it kittens? I think it might be kittens or baby animals. I see Charlie asked us about House District 32. Charlie, that race has not been called yet. It looks like right now Suzanne Weber is at 53.4%. And Debbie Booth Schmidt is at 46.4%. So we will provide an update on that when we come back. And now
I know that race.
Yes.
That's Tillamook County. I know that race. Okay.
Yeah, not called yet. I will let Sam lead us to our moment of zen.
Yes, please enjoy these cute animals. We will be back very shortly.
Great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha Swindler again in the Oregonian newsroom. I now have with me Therese Bottomley, who is our editor here at the Oregonian/Oregon Live. So sorry to pull everyone away from that amazing guinea pig footage provided by the Oregon Humane Society, but I guess we should talk a little bit about elections tonight. Um, so, Therese, what do we know out of the initial I don't know, the initial slate of information that we got from
Yeah, it's lots of
state?
interesting stuff in this very strange 2020 election with our nearly empty newsroom. But we have quite a number of races that we have called here at the Oregonian Oregon Live with our crack results team led by politics editor Betsy Hammond. But we are now going to be the first state in the nation to allow psilocybin therapy and legalize some street drugs. We said yes to the cigarette and vape tax. We said yes to the $1.2 billion Portland Public Schools bond. So even in a coronavirus pandemic, when people have had economic setbacks, they're high unemployment relatively, Oregon voters and Portland metro area voters have been very generous in these asks for more money, with the notable exception of the Metro transit package, which was going down to defeat preschool for all. However, Multnomah County measure was leading handily at 65% yes. Voters also were funding Portland parks. Multnomah County voters were funding the library measure, which had had some polling that showed it was hitting some slightly rough patches there. The Clackamas County Child Foster Child Support Center appeared to be going down to defeat, however, in a fairly tight race. All of the federal races went as expected. We did expect Biden to carry the state, as Oregon has been reliably Democratic in its returns for many years. All the congressional delegation, Peter DeFazio reelected, Kurt Schrader reelected, Cliff Bentz elected to the 2nd District to replace outgoing Congressman Greg Walden, who did not seek reelection. Suzanne Bonamici reelected, and then Jeff Merkley on the Senate side. So everything pretty much as expected at the federal level. Down a little bit more locally, we did call the race for Shemia Fagan for Oregon Secretary of State against Kim Thatcher. Mary Nolan, a former state legislator elected to Metro Council. Mingus Mapps, Portland City Council, upsetting the incumbent Chloe Daly. And in Portland, also yes votes for police reform. Statewide voters also handily approved campaign finance reform, which has been a big issue here in Oregon. We're one of the biggest money states in terms of campaign spending, because our Constitution for many years had been interpreted to mean that you really couldn't put restrictions on campaign spending because it was considered free speech. But now we will have campaign finance for the first time. The voters have spoken on that. So very interesting lineup of races, as now all eyes turn to the presidential race. And we are keeping a very close eye on the Portland mayor's race. We did say that incumbent Mayor Ted Wheeler was leading, and we project that he will win if this current results continue on the trend they're on, with a 7-point lead. 47% to 40% returns early. We do expect to keep watching that, but in a normal election year, we would have called that race outright based on those returns, based on the mathematical probabilities, given the history of voting in Multnomah County. But we are taking a cautious and very prudent approach, so we are signaling to readers that we believe that will be the outcome based on current trends, but not calling it outright at this hour.
There's a lot of write-in votes in the Portland mayor's race. Is that part of the factor of not being able to call it quite yet?
No, it's really that interestingly in Oregon, when we first went to vote by mail, you had a very high number of people voting immediately when they got their ballot. And then over the years, people started voting. This difference of a question mark out there in terms of, will this race tighten? Will it stay the same? Will it widen in favor of Mayor Wheeler? We're comfortable with our call right now, which is we're projecting that he will win, but we're just going to keep a close eye on that.
I'm also seeing, since we've been talking, we have called the Metro transit tax as failing. It was definitely trending toward that way, but it looks like we're making the official call on that.
Yes. Yes, and that's based on looking at the mathematics behind the votes. And if you see a trend coming in from various counties, and then you do the math about whether or not that would flip entirely in the final smaller number of votes, the likelihood of that is very unlikely. In those races that do have a Clackamas County component, we were even more cautious, because Clackamas County is only processing about 30,000 votes a day. They were not expected to have an update tonight. They were going to have an update at noon tomorrow, and then they had a further problem with a envelope opening machine malfunction. And so one of our most populous counties in the metro area, it's going to be kind of slow going to get those results in. So we took a cautious approach.
So I know that we're expecting some more results from Multnomah and maybe some other counties tonight, starting, I guess, around now. But are we expecting anything more from Clackamas tonight, or not? Not anymore.
We were
till tomorrow?
told by the county clerk down there in a news conference yesterday that we should not expect further results tonight, that the first update would be noon tomorrow. I don't know for sure whether that will be further delayed because of this envelope machine issue. They, are practicing social distancing with their poll workers in there who are sorting and verifying and stacking the ballots. So, when you can only have so many people in the office at any one time, it does make for slow going.
We can appreciate that here at the newsroom,
Yes.
where we have very few people, but
Yes.
physically here tonight. But we do have a lot of folks working from home. How long do you expect the election results team to be working and updating things this evening?
Well, as you said, we expect another big update from Multnomah County at 9:30, which is right now. So hopefully that's come through. And then we don't really know on lots of other counties. They kind of update as they get things. For instance, Josephine County in Southern Oregon just released its first tranche of votes at 9:15. And so they were the last ones to update the Secretary of State's website. So it's a little uncertain, and for that reason, we will stick with it until past midnight to keep updating the site, at least till midnight, and then probably keep an eye on it for a little bit after that to make sure that we have the most complete results that we can this evening. We hope people stick around to watch for it, but we also understand our audience does diminish after the 11 o'clock news. And I know people are staying glued to the presidential race as well. And so please check in at Oregon Live, and we will give you the latest and greatest results that we've gathered.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Teresa. Is there anything else that's going on that
No,
folks might be
the
interested in?
only other thing that we are keeping an eye on as a newsroom are protests, and there is a march that's happening on the east side right now, and we are staffing that, and we will be updating the website about that as well. I know that many businesses and police have been concerned about protests in the wake of the elections. When I drove into downtown this afternoon, I saw several businesses putting up fresh plywood. So, my hope is that things stay calm, that there is no violence, that there is no destruction. And we will be staffing that protest as well as long into the evening as there's news to watch for.
Yes, it will be a long night here. We had a couple of our photographers and reporters who were fueling up, ready to go out and cover protests. So
Yep.
we will have folks out documenting that as well. Again, updates pretty much all night long, and certainly early in the morning at OregonLive.com. So thank you so much for talking with us, Therese. I think you probably are going to head back over to the corner on the very other far side of the newsroom where they're looking at results.
I'm going to go check those 9:30 results from Multnomah County and see if it tells us anything more on those races that we're watching there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Samantha.
Thank you. Folks, if you're just joining us, we've been calling races this evening. I think we've kind of gone through the long list of stuff. I'm trying to pull up there's been some questions about like state measures and things that have passed. We did pass the Measure 110, which is the decriminalization of small amounts of street drugs. We passed the legalization of psychedelic mushrooms. We passed the tax on tobacco and vape. It appears the Oregonian has not yet called it, but it doesn't look like the Metro bond is going to pass. I think that may be it for now, but we are getting a new crop of results. Here I go. And actually, we just got a few more legislative races in Oregon. The Oregonian is calling House District 10 for David Gomberg, Democrat. That's out on the coast. Oregon Senate District 25 for Chris Gorsuch, Democrat. Oregon House District 20 for Paul Evans, Democrat. Oregon House District 25 for Bill Post, Republican. Oregon House District 29 for Susan McLean, Democrat. And someone was asking about this earlier. Oregonian is calling Oregon House District 32 for Suzanne Weber, Republican. I know Suzanne, she's the mayor of Tillamook. I think that's all for the most recent calls on races. There's so much more going on right now. So if you want to go to OregonLive.com, you can, at the top, there's a red bar. You can click on it and you'll see our whole map of election races that we've been calling. I'm expecting that there may be some more races called potentially with this new batch of things. I'm going to take a break now. And again, I know election night can be potentially very stressful. And so we're going to cut away again to some more zenful images. I believe, do we have more cute animals? We've got some more cute animals for you guys. So if you want to just sit back, relax, smoke them if you got them, watch these kittens.
Hey, work your magic, don't knock it over. Hi. Okay, everybody's gonna stay. Everybody's staying. Good job.
Hi, folks. Samantha Swindler here in the Oregonian newsroom. I hope you enjoyed that kitten break. We have just a few more races that we've called in addition to everything that we talked about earlier. The Oregonian is now calling the Clackamas County Commission Position 4 race for Ken Humbertson. He is the incumbent, if I'm not mistaken. And we are calling the Washington County Commission District 1 race for Nafisa Fai. We're also calling the Corbett School District bond that has passed. That is all the most recent stuff that we've called in this last batch of results that we got at around 9:30. For the full list of Oregon races, please check out OregonLive.com. We've got a spreadsheet, we've got stories, we've got all kinds of stuff there. We're probably going to take a break for a little bit from the live. We'll be back at around 10:30-ish. We'll have Andrew Thien. He's our host of the Beat Check podcast, and he'll be talking to some of our reporters about some of the races today. So thank you very much for tuning in.